Across the Spider-Verse had an almost impossible task, following up a near-perfect film. And I'm happy to say, they nailed it. It's incredible, and I can't believe they possibly lived up to the hype. I haven't been this excited for a movie in a very long time. I mean, it did everything I wanted. Upped the stakes, revisited beloved characters, and surprised me. An emphasis on surprised me. Because I feel like with superheroes today, it's becoming even more formulaic than it was in the past. And surprising me, and me not predicting where the plot's gonna go, is always an amazing thing to see. But here we are, with an almost perfect film. Because even how big and beautiful this film was, I had some issues. So spoiler warning, of course, for Across the Spider-Verse coming up. So if you haven't seen the movie, click away, come back later. Okay, so issues. Now, it's well known that Spider-Verse has some of the most beautiful animation in the game, but I would debate sometimes it may be too flashy. Now, don't get me wrong, majority is amazing. I love the interesting choices it makes, like the animation for Spider-Punk. It's interesting, supports the character, and works in the story. And every once in a while, because everyone loves it so much, I think it's a little too in your face. Like specifically in the dialogue scenes, when emotions are high, I shouldn't be noticing the background. The style kind of took me out of it. Now, the scene I'm talking about specifically is this gorgeous scene between Gwen and her father, where the watercolors and the paint trips are animated, and the background is just so breathtaking. But that's where the problem lies. The colors, the style, it changes so often and so abruptly. I found myself noticing the style, rather than the words coming out of the characters' mouths. Now, there are moments where that changes hit really wonderfully, like the beautiful way that when Gwen hugs her dad, the cold colors turn to warm, and I absolutely love that. It's a great way to show the physical change in the room, but from line to line, changing the faces of the characters, abruptly cutting to a shot with a different lighting, it takes me out of the scene. Simply put, it just needs to be simplified. It can be beautiful, just don't make it so visually different from shot to shot. That way, when it does change, like with the hug, it means more. Show me the beauty, but at the right times. Serve the story first, and then serve the style second. It's one of the few moments where I felt like the style was just a little bit too much. And it's a very minor complaint in a beautiful story. But when style takes you out of the emotion, I feel like it's a valid point. Next up, I want to talk about the story, and specifically the structure of the story. Now, I knew the story was going to be broken up, and this is only the first part, and I knew that going in, so I really had no issue. However, the problem, for me, lies with the first act. It seemed to drag. It seemed unneeded in my opinion. And I'd like to pose an alternative. Miles, his issue with parents, the constant stress of being Spider-Man and not showing up to things on time, has felt like we've retread this in every single Spider-Man film we've ever seen. It felt long, it felt played out, it felt unneeded, while the rest of the movie moved at a stellar pace. And my problem is that they almost had it right. The film starts with Gwen, and it just should have stayed there. I understand that this is Miles' story, but Gwen's problem really is what drives that first chapter. Miles is really only there to participate. Her emotion and her story is what leans into Miles' realization later on. She's that emotional connection. So keep the story with Gwen. Let's see that falling out with her father. Have those wonderful scenes, but spend more time there. And then we see it from her perspective, being asked to go clean up after Spot, and her knowing that it's Miles' universe, and the emotion that comes with that. We see it from her perspective, of him falling apart. A quick montage before she ends up going in and helping with Spot in that fight scene. But the difference is that it happens on the way to the party. Have him be late, have him fight Spot, but introduce Gwen in that. It also adds a different dynamic. Miles needs to decide between Gwen and his responsibilities, and Gwen needs to decide between her old life and Miles and really her new life that she's taking upon herself. Of course, Miles would go to the party, so Gwen is forced to go to the party and follow, as well as we have that reconnection with Miles. It simplifies the story, it shrinks it down, and we get to the exact same purpose in a different message, and in my opinion, more depth to that message. It doesn't linger on the story we've seen time and time again from Miles and really every Spider-Man ever. It picks up when we need it, and it focuses on the relationship and really the heart of what this story is. It starts off with Spider-Gwen, brings more context of her not wanting to reach out to him, gives more responsibility to Gwen of letting Spot go and having it really weigh on her shoulders. She's torn, Miles is a mess. It cleans it up, condenses it. It's a cleaner way to get to the same result. It's a small change in almost a perfect story, and a complaint from someone who's never even come close to making something this great. So take it with a grain of salt. But that's my thoughts on the movie. Beautifully crafted, amazing film, and I can't wait to see what comes out next year. So let me know what your thoughts of Spider-Verse were. As always though, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.